Yeah.
Tom Seymour, how you
So
doing?
we going?
We're going. We're going.
To my vocal exercises.
Yeah.
A-I-O-U.
A-I-O-U. A-I-O-U. I just got off of a walk. I did 4.5 miles today.
Nice.
Yesterday I went to the gym. That's a whole new thing, dude. So this whole week, twice to the gym this week, 2 walks, going to the gym again tomorrow. So much pain. I know it's only like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then like your body gets used to it, right?
It does eventually. It does. It takes, for me, it just took months and months. And you always walk around a little tight, but it kind of feels good.
Yeah.
You find, you feel more fit, you know?
Stronger. I want the strength. You know what I mean? I want that going on.
Yeah. Well, I was bragging to Tim earlier that I managed to get, I stepped to these up to 45-pound kettlebells. And like just today, I was able to do sets of 45 curls, single arm curls. And that literally took, I don't know, it could be 6 months, you know?
Yeah.
Just to go from 35s to 45s.
Yeah.
You know?
We're not spring chickens anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So, but it's good.
Dude, Video Dreams, the festival circuit, updates. Where are we at?
Okay, well,
win selections, the whole thing.
Yeah, the biggest deal is Arizona Underground Film Festival, one of the top underground film festivals in the world. We're screening Video Dreams March 8th, which is tomorrow, but I don't know exactly when this is going to air. But hopefully I can turn it around quick. But yeah, that's the big one. And Arizona Underground has been around for a long time. It's a pretty significant underground film festival, definitely like US top tier. So that's definitely a big deal. Some exciting news as well is that we won our first award at the New York Movie Awards, which is it's a festival that screens at the Crane Theater in Manhattan.
Sweet.
And so they'll kind of take a best of the year and they'll have a screening, but we won a best documentary feature award there. And so that puts us 2 shy of VHS Massacre 2. VHS Massacre 2 had 23 wins, but we're outpacing VHS 2 in regard to, I think, nominations. The combination of wins and nominations, that's now 32 or 33. And then essentially 45 official selections so far.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I think our kind of stretch goal was to hit 50 cities, which yeah, for those of you listening out there, you know, this is like, if this is of interest to you, that in our festival run, we were basically trying to get awareness out of the film so that, you know, to play at hopefully, you know, credible film festivals, but then also when it hits streaming, people would know what it was. So that the initial goal was 40 cities, to screen in 40 cities, and we surpassed that. And so we're on our way to our 50 official selections.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the festival submission versus official selection versus wins is a pretty decent ratio right now.
Yeah.
You know, we still have 20 something
20 exactly. 20. Well, technically I still have to enter Smodcastle. That's Kevin Smith's. That's going to be last one we enter.
That's soon, right?
It opens up, I think, in the next month or two. And then it's the waiting game. But yeah, so what is interesting is we've played in one in some of the top underground film festivals in the world. Melbourne, you know, Torino Underground, biggest Italian, CineXS, largest genre film, one of the largest in the UK, and San Francisco Indie Fest. And so we're in a situation where, and I'm sure I missed a few great festivals. The BFA qualifying, Spirit of Independence, some very significant festivals. In order to take that last step and maybe have the brass ring of being sort of let's say a top tier voice in the underground film world, there's really only one path for us, and it's to get into one of these 3 remaining film festivals. Raindance, that's a BAFTA qualifying Academy Award qualifying film festival. It's not exactly the underground route, but it's so big that it would raise the profile of the film. In regard to like almost like artistic, avant-garde, academic, or just street cred, Chicago Underground would be the brass ring. That would put us in my opinion, in like top tier world.
Yeah. That's this month sometime, right?
I think is it late this month maybe? And then the other one is called Cuckalorius in North Carolina. This is it's very well respected. It would almost, you could say it's top tier in regard to experimental. It's not exactly pure underground or cult, you know? One of those three would change the game. There's another path, which would be like if we got into like Smodcastle and, Kevin Smith's thing, that would be a different kind of indie film credibility. Couple that with maybe Trauma Dance, and maybe that concoction. But that's, so there's only a few ways to sort of top what's going on now, So to me, it's been fascinating. I think we definitely can claim it's one of the top performing underground documentaries of the year. I think we can claim that like pretty easily.
And that path, the Underground Film Festival path, is something that none of the previous ones took that journey necessarily. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely, it's definitely resonated differently this time, this particular one over the VHS 1 and 2 for sure.
Well, another thing that happened too is that Film Threat reviewed us and gave us this like incredible 9 out of 10 review. They said that it's essentially, for a filmmaker, this is absolutely a must see, and it's like a textbook example of documentary filmmaking independently. So it was like super high praise. I really didn't expect it. I was like, oh dude, I was relieved, because
you never know what's going to happen with a review like that, right?
It could have gone real bad. But no, it was great. It called it, quite a gem, which was just nice.
Yeah, really nice top off. Like everything about it was great. Everything about that review was great.
Yeah, so so thanks to the Film Threat staff. It was Benjamin Franz who wrote the review. And yeah, special shout out to him and Chris Gore and Alan NG. I forget how you say his name, but anyway, yeah, that was really cool. So there's been some really cool stuff that's happening, but I would say, yeah, we're in the final stretch, and we're either gonna we've hit like this second or third. Really, this is a third wave. We actually got into this thing. I think I'm not going to post about it, but the Savoy Luminaire Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
I forget where that is, but we got into that one. And then we have other screenings coming up. I can go through those real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Always, besides Arizona Underground tomorrow, Always Late TV Movie Awards. That's March 21st. Atlanta Documentary Film Festival. That's another big one. That's going to be online, actually. When that posts, that's going to go March 21st, March 23rd to April 6th. I'll post about that because it's because you could watch it online. It's virtual.
It's not geolocked. You can watch it.
It's geolocked to the U.S.
Okay.
Doc Only Film Festival Copenhagen. I don't know when that's going to premiere. And the New Filmmakers New York. That's going to be more of a summer thing.
Okay.
To be announced. And yeah, I mean, in New York, I think we've gotten into, I think it's 5 festivals and contests. It's surprising what a tough market New York still is, even if you've been here for a very long time.
Right.
But yeah, shout out to the New York Movie Awards. That was awesome. Shout out to New Filmmakers New York, Bill over there. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're kind of like, it's like, you remember in middle school and high school, you had to run the mile, and it was like 4 laps around the track. This is like that last lap, right?
Yeah.
Like run that last rung of it. We're like halfway through it, and it's spread out a little bit. We're a little tired. Like, it's towards the end of all the stuff. And I think July or August is the last one I think, if I'm not mistaken, for us to get yay or nay on. So we've still got another like 5 or 6 months ahead of us
Yeah,
until we.
you know what, the Cuckalorius one is September.
Okay.
But I just that's a new entry. But yeah, September
Yeah.
17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, so Cuckalorius is in film terms, they also call it a cookie. It's like when you're so if you ever watched a movie and a character walks by and there's like a shadow of a window against the wall, or like, let's say, shadow of tree leaves, those are cookies. Essentially what you do is you take a large piece of cardboard or what have you. You cut out patterns and then you stick it in front of the light. And when you do a set light, meaning you're lighting the back wall, it could look like foliage or a window or stuff like that. So anyway, their film festival is called Cuckalorius, which is just funny. You know, it's an interesting name.
Yeah. That's wild. So we're at the tail end of this. We're rounding the last lap, and at the same time, we're doing what we normally do, which is ideating on the next big project. We had. Can I talk about this? We had an interview last week. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We had an interview with Bill D. Russell, who was a delight. He is known for being the character of Max in Puppet Master Dr. Death, which I don't know if it's exactly the 15th Puppet Master movie. It could be the 14th or 13th, but I was looking up how many Puppet Master movies there were.
Apparently a lot,
yeah. But he was great, and he was great in the Puppet Master movie, and we had a great interview with him in regard to, we talked about some of his movies as well, but a lot of it had to do with his commercial career, which kind of predated his film career. And he was like the dad in one of the more famous blockbuster commercials called The Perfect Video Store, essentially, where this family is standing in kind of a blank area, and then suddenly a video store pops up around them. And, you know, it was all done practically with people pulling ropes and cranes, and they shot it in the middle of a stadium.
Yeah, like he said on an ice rink, basically, like converted to this set. Basically, they put a box right in the middle of all that, and everything happened right there. You know.
Yeah, so it was fascinating hearing him talk about that stuff. One of the cooler things he talked about in regard to commercials of the time, so we're talking 80s and 90s, was that one tactic was to keep regular people off the street. He was one of the few, like, let's say, professional actors they cast. But at that time, he talked about how it was common that really it was just about the look, you know. And I was thinking about this concept of, I believe his name's Alan Postman. He's a media guru professor. He talked about how commercials are really trying to sell you a lifestyle versus a product. There's a certain amount of manipulation and propaganda, but it would make sense that you would portray the average person in a desirable lifestyle and then
juxtapose the product against them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So there was a logic to it, you know. It made sense.
I mean, it's been Coca-Cola, Nike for years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, half the time you're watching those commercials and it's like, I rarely ever see a sneaker, or you see somebody holding a glass of cola at some point, but there's usually some other aspect of it that's trying to associate you with their product.
Yeah, like
something happy.
Exactly, like fun, excitement, athleticism. I mean, there is the whole celebrity part, which is just that's, you know, the flip side of the coin.
Yeah.
We'll show Michael Jordan. We'll show a super attractive person, you know. Beer commercials, think about that, you know. So there's, you know,
somebody way too attractive to be a beer drinker, by the way.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's, you know, various tactics, but it was very interesting to get his perspective on the advertising world at the time. And then once he got that video, he got some Pizza Hut commercial video, commercials, and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, it was really cool. He seemed like a cool dude.
Yeah.
And that
Five Bills commercial, like
the Five Bills Pizza Hut commercial. Yeah.
So, behind that, we had a little lore behind that. He was the only person actually named Bill in that commercial, which we didn't even ask that question. He just offered it. I was like, that's an interesting little piece of tidbit there, you know?
Yeah. So I think the doc's going to shape up well. I mean, we got Lloyd Kaufman is in it. Debbie Rochon is in it. We're actually gonna. I'm trying to write up some questions for her. She's gonna do some stuff on 900 commercials, which is amazing. She was in a bunch of them, and that should be a ton of fun.
So just so our audience understands, especially for the younger side of the audience, like maybe people in their 20s, that was a thing. Like, I mean, we could talk about this, like basically pornography, right? Like,
well,
back in the day,
was
was it like sexy
flirty
talk or whatever?
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Right.
But she didn't do anything like that.
No, I know she didn't do that.
Hers was like gossipy. Did you hear?
Was that what? Oh,
I had never done this before.
That's right. There were different flavors, right? There were different flavors in 900 commercials. Like you had basically 900 numbers were automatically billed to you long distance when you called them on your landline, and it could be for anything. It could be for sexy talk. It could be for, you want to hear a celebrity's voice talking to you. You want to hear, I don't know, it's like you want to hear SpongeBob SquarePants or something like that. And they would market this stuff to kids and stuff too. And then the parents would get this bill at the end of the month. They're like, who spent $700 on long distance?
I did one of my neighbors told me about this Freddy Krueger one, and I didn't know any better. He didn't know any better either. He told me about it. I called up the number and I would listen to it. And it's Freddy Krueger telling horror stories.
Right.
And my mom got this huge bill and she was like, super upset.
The hell?
And I'm like, I had no clue. But yeah, it was purely marketed towards kids, really, So that's a whole phenomenon. And I've had it mentioned, so the doc's called Enter the Television, and it surrounds mostly commercial, but some independent television as well. So it should be an interesting watch.
Yeah, that whole era, because like those, and again, those were like during a really conservative time with the FCC. So those didn't air until after 11 p.m.
Right.
Yeah. And you just knew it. You were like watching, Channel 9 or whatever, and like you knew what time it was, because all of a sudden those started popping off, and it was any number of things. Again, it wasn't always relegated to there's plenty of singles out there that want to talk to you, or did you hear about this?
Yeah, room. Yeah. James talked a bit about chat rooms, so anyway, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A few people I think I still want to get involved is John Brennan from The Last Drive-In. He showed interest in doing that. I got to figure out an angle with him, what to ask him. But he was on Last Drive-In, and, which is streaming television, then the Rhonda Shearer is YouTube. So it might be cool to talk to him about modern TV, if you will, even though it's not technically TV. And then probably Mike Oransky, because he's in marketing,
Yeah.
So
yeah, he has a lot to add to this for sure. And it's the story's definitely brewing, right? All these explorations, all of this back and forth and discussing various aspects of commercials have really kind of started to lay in the foundation of what the story is going to be. Ultimately, it happens on the editing floor.
It's built. Yeah. It's really made. These things are essentially made in the edit. It's not really very different from a narrative film.
Yeah.
But
and based on where you lay it into the timeline, it could tell it's a completely different story. And I think that's what the biggest challenge is, right? Like you've got to do a rough cut of 20, 30 minutes of it and see if that stands, and if you can expand upon that, or if some other narrative has to be wrapped around the thing in order for that to work, or move parts around. I'm sure that over the years with the various docs that we've done, there has been a lot of manipulation and moving around. It's like, this doesn't seem like it fits up front. It's more down the timeline.
They're not scripted in a traditional sense. I think one of my talents is that, so if I go back, I used to do these trailer mashups. They were pretty successful mashups, but the reason why I was able to do them is because I remembered individual shots from movies. So I could make Batman look like he's fighting the other Batman. I could make James Bond look like he's fighting the other James Bond, because I remembered which scenes they were in. Okay, satellite scene of GoldenEye had similar backdrops to beginning of Casino Royale chase scene.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing with documentaries. If you're being open-minded and real about taking in for information and building a story out of what people say, then you have to find connections between sound bites. So someone could talk for 2 hours and say 2 lines that connect with this other person's 2 lines. And you have to put those things together, and then you just have 2 pieces. And from there, you build the thing out. That's why it takes a year or 2 to do these things. There's not a linear progression, at least not in my mind. It may look that way in the end, but, it's all piece by piece by piece, So it's fun. It's like,
Discovery.
yeah.
Like every clip is a discovery, right? It's like, I discovered something that ties this to this to this.
Yeah, I'll literally I'll tell Tim, I'll be excited. Oh, dude, I figured this out. He talks about this here, and I can link it with this here, So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, it's so fun to watch that evolve and help my little bit in the process. I know most, it's all done on the computer and it's all done in the timeline, but ultimately it's like, no, just that sound, having a soundboard and like, but hey, what do you think of this? I just did you dump out another export and you're like, I added this little thing in there. What do you think? Does this help it or hurt it? Blah, blah, like all this. And like, that's constant. It's 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Does this make sense? Blah, blah. This is evolving into this. It's just, yeah, it's a lot of painting and just shoehorning and doing things and making it cohesive. You know what I mean? You don't want this thing to feel like a stream of consciousness, right? That just,
yeah, it's got to flow logically.
Hmm.
And so it's, some are more successful than others. We'll see. But it's like, it's getting to a point where I'm not totally lost with it. Because in the beginning, it's always like, what the hell am I doing? Even now, it's like, it's very garbagey. It's very like low resolution commercial that you stick a commercial in a 4K timeline. It looks like crap.
Yeah. Especially
like,
from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're looking, I found a better one, you replace it. I found a better one, you replace it.
Yeah. Yeah. Early 80s. I mean, some of the local commercials were shot in like super VHS, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, not a lot of information.
Not great.
What is that?
360 or
yeah, I was just gonna say 360 by something.
Yeah, 240 by 360, I think, and then SD was 640 by 480. So yeah, Super VHS was not even SD, I don't think. And then yeah, but it's definitely interesting. It's like, you experiment. How can I make this not look like crap? So you create a television set to stick the video in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did that. And then you want to conform them all. But then there's this one that still looks terrible. And there's no choice. There's no other choice. So what do? You shrink down the TV so that it's even smaller. And then you're wondering, is anyone going to notice the size difference? Like, are they going to think it's a mistake? It's
right.
Like, it's all that kind of mind games,
Yeah. But I think that like, that's a creative way to articulate that it's something from the past and it solves a problem on screen, but artistically it solves the problem. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like you're seeing this emulation of an old school cathode ray tube television set with a commercial in it. It justifies you making it small within this large widescreen format movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't bring so much attention to the pixelization of the resolution that you have to work with, because you really, contrary to popular belief for movies, there's no enhance button out there that clarifies what information you have is what you have. You know what I mean?
There's some AI tools that I've experimented with, and it's bizarre. Like, it doesn't help. Like, it makes everything, it won't track properly. It looks terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's nothing really right now that can, at some point, AI will just be able to ingest a whole film and like recreate it almost. But I don't think.
But even that's guesswork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not. How does it know what information isn't there? That's the thing. So I don't know, but it's coming along. It's coming along. I think we'll have, like you said, we'll have some more interviews. We'll have some more commercial podcast explorations, and from various times in that period where it was peak commercial. We didn't even talk about how they squeeze them in today. I've been thinking about that recently, Tom. Like, the promise of streaming platforms was no more commercials, and you see how that panned out. Most
Yeah,
of
they
them
just can't make
offered
it
another
work.
tier. They
Yeah.
offer another tier that's like, oh yeah, for an extra $5 a month, we won't bother you with the commercials that are now a requirement. And it's like, oh, that was the whole reason I got away from cable, though, guys. That's what the hell. But it's also, some of these platforms have what feels like an unending wallet for productions, or at least at one point, Netflix was like, they were just throwing money at productions, like at a level that I'm just like, how are you going to get that back with subscriptions? Like
They seem to be the only shop in town, unless you count like Apple and Amazon,
Yeah.
which again, it's like, talk about conflict of interest, or just like should not be possible. But like, because Amazon makes their money off of selling other stuff, and same Apple makes their money off of phones and stuff like that. Like,
it's almost a loss leader, right? It's like an extra thing that they offer to keep you into the brand.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just like again, it's just almost like the lifestyle thing. We're going to make cool shows, and you'll like cool Apple products. Same thing with Prime. We're going to make, somewhat cool TV shows.
Yeah, Prime exclusive stuff. They're starting to do, I don't know if you noticed this, but, like BritBox and like all these other things, you could do the subscription through Amazon. So now they're like, hey, we've got a really good platform. We'll host it and we'll take a cut. I'm assuming. I don't know the back end thing, but I'm assuming they get a piece of the action, or they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's, but Netflix is like the only company that like pretty much just does streaming that seems to be profitable. Everyone else is utterly failing, At Disney, like all the Paramount, all that stuff, that just, they're trying to, what? Paramount's okay. They're trying to acquire Warner. But I think it's because they have backing. But even if you go back 5 years ago, Paramount was actually struggling pretty badly. I think it was, what was it, CBS Paramount, that people were worried that was not going to be viable. But now it seems like there is now money to acquire stuff. So I think they're trying to get Warner now. So maybe that's going to be a profitable hub. But if you go back not that long ago, they didn't seem like they were doing great with Paramount streaming. So I don't know what changed.
Yeah. I struggle too with these mergers and acquisitions too. You get too few companies that control all the media. I mean, there's a whole political thing that I don't want to get into about that, but beyond that, it's the creative side of things. It's like a stopgap on creativity, because now you have, a half a dozen major studios or major brands out there that are 90-something% of the entertainment you can see online. And
yeah,
that kind of sucks, because that certainly isn't space for independence, or independent productions and experimentation. They're not going to experiment like independent filmmakers will, for sure.
I mean, there's stuff around, but even them, like, there's this thing, like the VHS Master, first two VHS Master docs are on Screenbox. But Screenbox, I think, was bought by, what was it called? Cineverse. So Cineverse bought Screenbox and Bloody Disgusting, and so now they have a little label conglomeration,
Yeah.
Pretty small, but and then you have Shudder. They're one of the major horror, but I think they're owned by AMC or something. So I don't know. That's the other thing too, is like the illusion of independence.
Yeah.
Like Shudder has owners. It's not independent, Trauma now, Full Moon Entertainment. Back to the Puppet Master thing, like, he didn't sell those movies, So there's 15 of them. He's still cranking them out, So, it's interesting.
Hey, so you want to talk about music?
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So the hiatus is over. Yay!
Good.
Hiatus is over. I knew it was going to be like around 3 months. You know, November 22nd or 24th was when I published that 1000th track, and I had some other stuff cooking basically on the hard. I mean, I have a couple hundred projects on there at any given moment. So but objectivity in my brain just out the window at that point. You know what I mean? 75 tracks were published last year, and my brain just went, time for a break. So I didn't really focus on the Monday, Friday stuff. I didn't really focus on any kind of agenda for publishing until mid to late January. I started playing around, and it wasn't even on a schedule. It was like a couple days here, a couple days there. I'm like, I'm going to sit down and play around with some of this newer software I have and see if anything comes out of me or whatever. And we acquired somewhere in that time frame, both of us acquired Arc Raiders.
Right.
And started playing that. And that game had a huge learning curve up front. In fact, I reached a certain point about 20 hours into it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to play it because I wasn't sure I understood the concept and everything. Just so people out there that don't play it and don't understand it, it's a extraction shooter. It's PvE, PvP. So that means you have, non-player enemies, but you also have other players that could be friendly or not, depending upon what their gameplay style is. So there's a lot of high stakes. And because of that, and it's an extraction shooter, so you have to like go out there and find stuff and whatever. But there's like this minimalist kind of score to the whole game that grows on you. There's the insertion process coming back when things get tense out in, when you're out there going around trying to scavenge for things. And it really started getting in my head. And I started thinking to myself, it might be fun to do a compilation of these or an homage, like not exactly like the game, but like something that has some of this movement and momentum in the music. Very, very low key and more ambient sounding things, but like with a little action at the same time. It's hard to explain how that score is, which is why I think I'm fascinated by it, because it kind of does a lot of things without doing too much.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's definitely not a foreign thing for you because it's definitely, I would say, 70s inspired synth.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about Vangelis and Blade Runner and all that stuff constantly. So I think when we started playing it, we noticed the music. Oh, this is really nice,
Yeah.
So it's definitely within your wheelhouse,
Yeah. Not to mention the sound effects and the visuals in the game are just stunning.
Sound design is gorgeous. I think back to what you were saying about playing Arc Raiders. Tim, you were like, there's some new games. We should check out these two. And you do that every now and then. They just take, because we found Remnant 2 that way. And anyway.
Yeah. That was a great game too.
And that was great. Yeah. But you're like Arc Raiders and there was another one. So I was like, I picked one. I was like, all right, I looked it up a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm going to do Arc Raiders. I think you already bought it.
Yeah.
So I started playing it. I'm so used to like Fortnite or Far Cry. In Far Cry, especially towards the end, you're overpowered. You're going in there. So I did like 4 rounds and I just ate dirt. And I didn't really understand like where to extract, how to extract. And so I had to like look it up later, But I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think this is for me, But I think because it looked so good and there was so much care and the sound design, I was like, there's something here. Like there's something to this. Like this night. So I stuck with it. And then at some point I'm like, okay, I get it,
Yeah. Well, there's a discovery element to it that I think a lot of games today lack. So there's not, at the beginning of it, there's no real tutorial that walks you through it. There's a playground where you can test out things and test out how Arc reacts to being attacked and whatever, but it's very, very limited, and there's no hand holding. It's really a game of full 100% personal discovery. Like you have to come across something, and then, just a week or two ago, we discovered that there was like some power source would actually recharge a little bit of your shield. And
Yeah.
it was like this thing. You're like, wait a minute, I can equip this and I could do this. Like, there's nowhere that it explains that. And then, just the recipes to build things like those, that's discovery. And then there's like weekly challenges. And then there's like these individual, it's a far more complicated game than it appears to be on the surface. On the surface, it's like, oh, it's just a PvP and you extract with stuff and hopefully someone doesn't kill you on the way out and blah, blah, blah. No, there's a lot of nuance to it. And I think that it's refreshing. It's different. And
Well, it really made you feel like you were on that, in that place and having to discover. Yeah, it's frustrating in the beginning. The one thing you mentioned the other night is like, well, at least if you're doing a loadout and you're missing like a shield, it'll say, dude, you sure you want to load out? At least you get that, But in the beginning, I think I didn't understand free loadouts for a long time.
Me neither.
If you do a free loadout, they'll give you a generic set of guns and shields. Not good, but you can do it for free if you just run out of stuff. I didn't even understand that in the beginning, so I was dwindled down to nothing.
Mhm.
So I was going in naked, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna try to run to a hatch before I get killed. So I did that. I actually found a gun, and then I ran to a hatch and I extracted, and I did that a couple times. That's what I would say. If you're starting out with Arc Raiders, map the closest hatch and just get a few extractions in. Just feel it out, because I didn't get that for like 5 rounds and I was about to just like quit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like you're like, okay, I don't get this at all. I'm losing all my stuff. And what's the point of this game if I can't bring any of this stuff back to what's called, quote unquote, your stash? And there's all this process of building that up and having more space and everything. It's like inventory management meets first person shooter meets open world meets. It's just really kind of cool stuff. So that's a huge arc to explain why I got remotivated to write music. I've got now like 11 or 12 tracks that are in the review stage, actually in the walk today. I listened to all of them. I'm going to be doing it again tomorrow and then throughout this week and start, adding some other elements to it, pulling some things out. I can tell where there's like a few extra notes here and that kind of thing. So that's the stage I'm at now with it. But that's on the agenda. I had a podcast with Kelly Clark of Dork Tales a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that he told me he really wants and needs, I'm really excited to make surf rock from back in the day. I've never done that. And I listened to a bunch of surf rock on Spotify a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, this sounds like it would be fun to make. Like, this is just like old schooly, like just fun. Like, I mean, you think like the B-52s or some of the more moving Beach Boys stuff that are, but like that like one note, heavily like Leslie speakered and reverbed guitar, like, or like, another one would be a good example. It's kind of surf rocky is Cake. It kind of has that, that surf rock feel. It's definitely that and some like alternative rock mixed together. But I've got to figure out the instrumentation. So I'm going to build that after this one's finished. I'm going to be creating some ideas on that and building templates with all the instrumentation and just playing around with it. D&D as well. I'm revisiting some of my D&D, so big orchestral pieces, specifically D&D with like an emphasis on like Warhammer K and marches and stuff. So big pieces that go on for a while and like basically like battle, backgrounds, that kind of thing. So revisiting that. And then also for Olivia over at Via Frequency, I'm focused on meditation, some frequency specific stuff that deals with patches that are going to be like at a specific frequency and building music around that. So there's a whole science behind frequencies and how they affect health and all that. And I'm going to explore some of those things. So those are the immediate projects that are coming down the pipeline. But I also have updates on distribution. I've been with DistroKid for like, God, I think like 5 years now at this point. And anybody that doesn't know what DistroKid is, it's a digital insertion, basically, company that you pay a fee every year. And you get to retain any of the royalties you get from where it inserts your music into, and it puts it into social media, it puts it into Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all that stuff. But because the price point's pretty low, there's not a lot of customer service. And because there's not a lot of customer service, and whenever things come up and we create a problem, there's some default things that happen on the platform that are counterintuitive to building a brand and a catalog that gets used as wide and far as possible. So I made a decision after the 1,000 tracks to change distributors. It's in process right now. The new distributor is going to be Frequency Music, and they have almost 3 times as the DSPs, the digital service providers, to infuse the music into, including, get this, my music will actually be in Canva. So if
Very
you're
nice.
editing content in Canva, you'll be able to select my music on that platform and insert it into videos or whatever you're doing, and it's directly from there. So now it's encoded, or however they do the thing, so they know you're using it properly and everything. So it's really, really cool. And so, but literally it's going to be in a lot more places that it wasn't before, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Very, very excited about it.
That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know we, can't talk about everything, but yeah, Tim's making some big moves. Well, wait, can we talk about the shark movie?
Yeah, I guess so. I just talked to Ron Bonk back and forth the other day. I don't know if it's on IMDb yet.
So Tim and I dabble in producing from time to time outside of our box. Tim's produced a number of horror flicks and stuff like that. But one that caught our eye was Emotional Support Shark.
So great.
They're trying to put that movie together. So both of us looked at it, and they're going to put some of your tunes in there, right? I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then, so we're, coming in as producers on that one. So that should be fun.
I don't know how they're going to pull that off. I don't care. It just sounds ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that I just love. I'm like, how do you pull that off aesthetically and make it believe? It's not going to be believable at all. That's the point.
Yeah,
That's the absolute point of the project.
We were also producers on Shark Exorcist 2.
Yeah. There's a second one.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think. Sean Phillips, a number of those were involved with. I just got Skate to Hell. Do I have that? I haven't watched this yet. I think Tim and I are both producers on this one. So we got that. Your music.
Yeah, we're going to have a watching party.
I think your music's in.
Yeah. I got 2 tracks on that one.
So Tim's music is in this, and he's the producer. You know what I got is I got in Bill D. Russell's movie.
Dr. Death.
Puppet Master. Dr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Physical media. So you're keeping it alive.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. Desert Fiends, that's one.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, both producers, and I did a little marketing, little social media marketing for Sean as well. So it's fun to do beyond some of the other stuff.
Totally. Yeah, another reason I decided on the switch with the distributors is I found out that it looks like DistroKid's up for sale, and they were putting together a valuation, at least from the news articles I saw about a month ago. And that just tells me that somebody's going to gobble it up, and it'll be part of another conglomerate, which means it's going to be another layer. And in my experience, when those acquisitions happen, there's less and less customer service, and it's not like there's much of anything right now as it stands. So good time to pivot, good time to get into a company like Frequency that has, real human customer service and can help navigate it. And they're actually specializing in my specific focus, which is royalty-free music. So to have a partner that's going to help navigate that area and make sure that the end users are getting the best possible customer service, not only from myself, but from the distributor standpoint, is fantastic. You know what I mean? I can't be happier about that. And it's just right around the corner. And I think I've got a week or two ahead of me before that official switchover happens, and that's going to be great. So,
yeah. And you'll have an album ready to go.
Yeah. And speaking of albums and volume and everything else, I mean, it's definitely the road to 2000 now. The road to 1000 has been done and completed. Will I be producing 200 plus tracks a year going forward? I don't know. I don't think this year. I think I have a conservative estimate of like anywhere from between 100 and 200 this year, probably at the lower end. I think the creative well needs to be refilled at this point.
Yeah.
I ran it pretty dry last year, and I think it's something I talk about with Kevin all the time. You can only create so much, and then you have to have experiences so you can bring experiences back to the studio and translate that into new pieces of art.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
No question. Yeah. Well, you could even do it by album. You can just say I'm going to try to do 10 a year, 10 albums a year. And then if you do 15, awesome, you know?
Yeah. But this is, I mean, regardless, if it takes me several years to hit 2, who cares? At this point, I have a solid catalog in place. There's plenty for most people. You know, I've hit enough genres that if you're not into the horror stuff or the creepy stuff, then maybe you're into the lo-fi, or maybe you're into the electronica, or maybe you're into the orchestral stuff, or maybe you're into the meditation stuff. You know, it's just there's so much, and I have 2 or 3 compilations that are jazz based. So some people have told me, I didn't realize you did jazz. I'm like, yeah, check it out. There's metal in there.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
It's like, it's crazy.
I'm telling you, man, Southern horror. I would love
the Southern Gothic. Yeah.
Southern Gothic.
Dude, it's right. Talked about that the other night.
Yeah.
Gotta add that to my notes.
I heard some crazy banjo stuff on TikTok, and I was like, not in like Deliverance type stuff, but like like truly deep and haunting. You know, banjo is very interesting. Banjo can be used in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Kevin got a hurdy-gurdy last week.
You told me about that's the thing with the crank, or no?
Yeah, you got the crank on the side, and then there's keys in the front, and there's 4 or 5 strings. It's like 1,000-year-old instrument. Like, not the one that he got, but like it had been around a long time. And I looked at the engineering of it, and I'm like, dude, who thought this up? That like, I mean, you're talking like Crusades time. Somebody is like, I'm gonna make this instrument that you crank around, and it does this wheel, and it's got this drone.
Is the crank doing something with like a bladder or something? What is it?
So the crank has a wheel on it. The wheel has like rosin on it, and it rubs against the strings. So there's a couple strings that are drones, and they're all octaves of each other as a standard. And then there's 3 strings that when you press the keys, you create chords or melodies from. And that's where you get that, like, you get this underlying tone, but then this top end thing, it almost sounds like, it's a cross between an accordion and a violin, I'd have to say. Like, it feels like that. If you've ever heard it, you've probably heard one before, but didn't know what you were hearing. And probably had some Celtic vibe going on to it, or Old English, like jigs, you know, like folk music, that kind of thing. But really fascinating. Really fascinating instrument. Definitely something I'd rather do here, because it's super complicated, and I would rather emulate it in some other fashion, but fascinating to play and mess around with, you know. Nonetheless, it just, again, other things to get exposed to get some ideas going forward. I'm sure I'll jump into a couple genres I haven't touched yet. I've been talking about polka for years. Probably do that at some point, just because why not? Why not make polka? I do have a Polish last name, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like it because I can use almost all your. I mean, I can use a lot of your stuff, like the Arc Raiders album.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few of them that are like contemplative enough, not enough, but they match what I'm doing with the Enter the TV doc. So it's very interesting. I'm experimenting with using one of them. One of the ones is a little horrifying. You got some. It's really fresh sounding. It's one of the last ones you sent me.
Okay.
And there's a story of the Pizza Hut commercial, the Noid, and how this guy, I think Kenneth Lamar Noid, was the guy who held up a Pizza Hut because he thought the TV was talking to him.
Right. He had some mental issues.
And I think it works. If you put some of that stuff, it's almost horror underneath it. It actually,
Really?
I think it will function. Yeah. I'll have to re-narrate the whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I talk about this to a lot of people that are exposed to my stuff. And I always tell them, like, especially people that approach me and they're like, well, I'm going to use this track, but I only want to use part of it. And I might slow it down, or I might like use this part here and then use the intro after it or whatever. Is that going to be a problem? I'm like, dude, your interpretation of how to use my track, I absolutely adore, because Eric is a perfect example. Eric layered like multiple tracks of mine in Shoot the Guns too.
Mhm.
And in a way, like, and when I listened to his first edit of it, listen to the music in it, I was like, dude, I never would have put those two things together. I'm like, hearing the interpretation of somebody, I'm like, this is fantastic. I love this. It's like discovering my music all over again, Yeah, it's really cool stuff. So I guess there's some people out there that are really strict and stringent on how somebody uses their track.
Yeah.
I just never felt that was conducive to getting a wide reach on your catalog.
No, I agree. I think just don't get into the royalty-free space if you're at all concerned with that kind of stuff, because you're obviously not giving up rights to the film. You still own all your stuff, but
Right.
you are giving up permission to use it. And so it can be juxtaposed against stuff that you don't agree with. So just don't get into that space if that's a concern,
Yeah, people can use my stuff on YouTube, and I've seen it in like anything from like propaganda like pieces, or like news pieces. Maybe I a lot of times it's in foreign languages, so I'm not sure exactly what the context is. But I mean, again, it's a service I provide. I don't have a say in what it's used against, but whatever. That's, like you said, that's part and parcel to being a royalty-free musician and composer. So, but yeah, thanks for reminding me about the Southern Gothic thing. I gotta look at that. That's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be cool.
We got anything else?
I think that's about it. I hope Arizona Underground goes great, and thanks to the New York Movie Awards, and looking forward to you publishing that Arc Raiders album. That's pretty much it,
It's coming. This is our first podcast, by the way, in like probably over a month. The last one we had was actually when we were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to connect on this for a few weekends, so I was excited about. I was like, yeah, we got to get this done, man. We got to get back on camera together. So
absolutely.
So yeah, it was we were overdue, and we're gonna have joint ventures more frequent going forward.
Absolutely,
with the podcast. So, but thanks everybody. Thanks for checking in today, and we'll give you more updates on all the things real soon.